Wherever you're joining us, I'm so happy to have you with us for Earth Day 2026 to talk about how it's a noble cause to, as humans, to take care of the planet. Okay, so that is today's topic, and um, and please post your comments about things that you're doing on Earth Day wherever you're viewing from your part of in the United States or other countries across the world. And we're going to get started with the Varuti mantra, and then I'll jump straight into the talk. Swaha, Agnihotra Lady Swaha, Vayaveda Mama Swaha, Suyaya Mama Burgava Swaha, Prajapati Mama. Okay, so I'm actually going to add one more light. I'm always messing around with light. So give me 1 second before we get started. I want to do one more thing with some light. Because I always feel like I don't ever get the lighting right. And maybe it'll help if maybe I need to open the door a little bit too to get better light. I think that's better. Oh, well, the light is trying to fall. Yeah, Ronnie's not here to assist me, so I don't have to have falling lights. But anyway, it's all good. So okay, so I'm gonna open the door wider. That will help with lights. And let me turn this overhead light off. Okay. Okay, so tonight's talk is the noble cause of being a human that's protecting the planet. The noble cause of humans protecting the planet. That is the topic. So we're broadcasting live here at the Shanti Villa Atlanta location, which is in Conyers, Georgia. And our main location is in Tuskegee, Alabama. And we teach Agnihotra, which is a purification process which heals the planet and it heals people too. And so there's a lot of things happening with the planet in terms of not just wars that are happening on the planet, which I don't think people realize that all of the missiles and drone attacks and things like that happen is very upsetting to the sea and the waters and the mountains and these areas where these attacks are happening. So those effects go way down deep into the earth's core. Beside the fact that a lot of people are dying in these wars. So when we're talking about the climate change and pollution on the planet, we are talking about the mind pollution and the climate change of each individual, because each of us are reflections of nature. And if there's an outer war, there's definitely an inner war going on in individual people. And as we know that there's a connection, a deep connection with nature and human beings, which means that even if you're not having a physical fight or have a weapon in your hand, uh, it still affects you. And a lot of people are nervous and upset about what's happening with the war and the price of gas and the price of food and all sorts of things. We want to make sure that we understand that the inner environment needs to be calm during these challenging times, which I know is difficult. But um, and we don't want people to get frustrated and hateful um, because of the uncertainty and job insecurity and things like that. Because we have to be able to deal with these challenging times um, no matter what's going on, because things are changeable all the time. Things can change in your life all the time. And the cycles of the planet, um, they reflect that. Okay. It's reflective. It's not like you are outside of these cycles of the planet. I've said before, we are creatures of the planet. So I was thinking about Earth Day, and we're going to do Agnihotra on the camera here in a few minutes. So wherever you are, you can join with us. I have another pyramid here, and you can join in doing Agnihotra. I will say the Sanskrit mantra, and you can just sit in silence until the fire goes out, and then we'll continue to talk. But I wanted to talk about Earth and use the letters of Earth and Earth Day. So I would say the E means equality for all people that live on the planet. The equality of all facets of nature. So the E in Earth means equality. So everything is balanced and everybody is treated fairly. And all the water, the soil, and the animals to be equally able to live on the planet without a whole lot of destruction going on. And the A would be performing Agnihotra, and also it would be having acts, actions of love. So that was what the A represents, to have an action of love and an action of not doing things to tear up the planet. And R would be realization that we don't have infinite resources of water, soil, and all these things that we take for granted. So we have to have realization and responsibility for the planet. That's what the R stands for in Earth, for Earth Day. The T would be time. That means the time for you to realize you take your self seriously as a steward of this planet, and that you take the time to take care of the planet. That's what the T stands for. And then I would say that H would be humility, that we do these things with all humility, taking care of the planet, being kind to others, and being humble servants of the planet and to each other, being humble servants and being stewards of love, to take care of our natural resources and not misusing these things. And so that is what I thought of in terms of Earth Day, EARTH. So if you want to rewind that back after this is done, so that way you can listen to that and take that straight into your heart, because we all love this planet and we do not want to see the destruction of the waterways being clogged up with chemicals and runoff from conventional farms. We don't want our air to be uninhabitable or unbreathable, I should say. Like in China, they wear masks because of the air quality. I think some have said that they don't have to wear the mask as much now, but um, we have to understand that the air and the trees and all these things and the erosion of soil because of mismanagement um, is only talked about when it starts causing billions of dollars in damage. And these companies have to pay money because of the climate change and pollution. But it doesn't have to go to that extreme. We have free will to be able to do the things that we know that are in the natural order of taking care of the planet, and that it doesn't have to be this way. So this is the time for Agnihotra, and I'm going to turn the light back on because it does seem rather dark still. And we're going to do Agnihotra. Oh yeah, that's way better. Okay, so I'm going to do Agnihotra. Okay, and when I light the fire and say the mantras, you can just sit quietly wherever you are until the fire goes out, and then we'll continue with the talk. Agnihotra, as you can see, is done in a copper pyramid. And let me move this right here. So it's going to be seen. So I'm on Eastern time. So it's at 8:09 here on Eastern time. So I'm preparing the dried cow dung that's smeared with ghee. And I'm getting the brown rice together. Okay, so Agnihotra will take place in about 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes until Agnihotra. Okay, so Agnihotra will start in 1 minute. So I'll say the mantra, and then we'll sit in silence until this fire goes out. This is the Agnihotra pyramid. Agnaye Swaha. Agnaye Namama Prajapatiye Swaha. Prajapatiye Idam Namama. Okay, so that is the end of evening Agnihotra. So we can continue the talk. Okay, so welcome back again to Earth Day. We just got through doing the evening Agnihotra. Earlier, right before that, I spelled out the letters of Earth and explained what each of the letters meant in terms of us um, being noble stewards of the planet. And so earlier, someone was talking about the differences that people have, and someone's from this country, they're this color, they have this religion, and things like that. And agriculture, we do not get into politics, religion. There's no judgment because what's happening to the planet happens to everyone. Nature does not look at one race or the other, or one um, culture or the other, and say we're going to do this over here because this is what we favor. You know, nature doesn't have favorites. Nature just wants to be taken care of. And when we fail to do it, that's when um, things go awry with the planet. And I've often said that some of us feel like we're not part of nature. We're far removed. Some of us may not have gardens or go outside. We're working in offices and these concrete, or live in these concrete jungles where we don't get a lot of time to spend outside. And so I'm here to remind everyone about what nature is. So you may have heard of the term human nature, which nature is in each and every one of us. You know, all of the five elements. Okay, all of the soil and the air and the water is inside each of our bodies. So we are the humanized version of what we call the outside nature. We're the nature embodied within the human form. So we are nature. That's where the term human nature comes from, and even words like humanity. If you say humanity, or someone's a good is a humanitarian, we're it's a good thing. So that word is based on the word human, and human, the etymology on that means wise one. And so we have to ask ourselves, are we acting wisely, dealing with the earth and the water, the trees? Are we truly wise, or are we greedy? And that's what we need to remind ourselves on Earth Day. I was talking to an urban farmer earlier, talking about the things that are happening at the data centers being built. It's a whole lot of things being built, data centers being built in Georgia. But he was saying that the data centers are a result of people being consumers. And so, and I agree, because even though a lot of people are disagreeing with the data centers, they're being built because we are consume a lot of data, a lot of videos, and a lot of us are using chat GPT and other things to make our work easier. But for all these computations that are going on our devices and things like that, we understand that there's a repercussion to that in terms of what has to happen in terms of building these things to have these data centers. Okay, so recently Ronnie accompanied me. We visited several data centers. We visited the big one in Memphis, Tennessee, the Colossus. And when I tell you it's a gargantuan operation with I would say that the water looks dead. It needs lots of water. These data centers, water's not moving, and water is supposed to move, even if it's a simple, small ripple. Water is supposed to move. You don't see any birds flying. And the neighborhood, which is called Boxtown, it looked like a dead zone. It looked like something that you would see in an apocalyptic movie. You didn't see any people walking around outside in Boxtown. And the news is reporting that that everybody in those areas, the hospitalization for asthma and respiratory problems has gone up exponentially. So this is not something that can be denied now. And the stench in the air before we even got to the data center, it made Ronnie physically sick. It smells horrible. It smells horrible. And like I said, no birds are flying around. And I think unless it's happening in your neck of the woods, people may not realize how huge of a problem this is. We were able to drive right by it, and they did not allow recording the time that we saw it labeled. I mean, we were the only regular vehicle driving down this strip. All you saw was like work vehicles and tractor trailer trucks. So we turned around after we saw it, but we could see the methane glitching in the air because it's these turbines that glitch the methane. You can see it growing in the air. So data centers work, the same pretty much wherever they are. This is the biggest one, and from what I understand, 3 miles from there is going to be another data center that Elon Musk is building. So I'm describing all this to you because most people haven't driven by this or seen a data center, but there is no way that this is sustainable. If you see this in real time and see the neighborhoods, people can't afford to move, or they've inherited homes and they don't want to lose what little land that they have, it is not sustainable. It can't be sustainable when the water, surrounding water, is tainted and it leaches into the soil. That means you can't grow anything over there. And that affects everything. It affects human survival. Okay. So I just wanted to point this out in terms of the data centers, because there are people saying, well, environmentalists are protesting, but what about making money? We cannot put money above, and you see my hand right here because something is going on with Yard Stream, and I'm having to make sure that it doesn't reload. That's why I keep doing this right here. But we have to understand that money cannot trump nature. Once you put money above human beings, that means we have the ability to destroy ourselves. And you may have seen like pictures of a snake in a circle and it's eating its own tail. That is what's happening now with not just data centers, but just not understanding that what the devastation to all of the land and the animals, the wildlife, to human health. And these things are being done to people in these at-risk poor neighborhoods because they felt, let's do it over here. Okay, let's do it over here because it's, first of all, they have to have large amount of land, a lot of water, and they put it in the area where it's a lot of rural people, poor people, and they figure no one's not going to speak up for them. Okay, so, and then the cost that comes, and what has been happening here in Georgia is that people's electricity bills have gone up like by 1,000%. So if your bill was $50, now it's like $800, sometimes $1,000, and not just here in Georgia. So what we're saying is that the greed will have you like the snake I described, where the snake is eating its own tail, because you don't understand what's at risk when you mess with the planet. You have to understand every droplet of water, every gust of wind, the soil itself is inside each of our bodies. We are the walking embodiment of all the things that the earth has to offer, whether it be a sunflower, okay, or the carrot that you grow. Everything from the grocery store comes from a farmer. And so when you hear these news reports, maybe some people haven't heard these news reports of these farmers that commit suicide because the land they can't farm anymore, or the GMO seeds mess up the land, or um, they lost all the crops through the drought. I'll tell you why. And these are just not farmers in India. These are farmers in America too. Okay, farmers have had problems before here, where they had farm aid like what 20 something years ago, and they committed suicide. And one of the reasons why they're committing suicide, because a lot of farmers have been farming for generations, not just 10 years, like 100 years or 50 years. So they are deeply connected to the land. So when you are doing something, especially as hard as farming, it's not just a job, it's a way of life, but they're connected with all of the elements. Okay? I mean, even if they're spraying chemicals, they can still see what's going on with the land. But we have to understand these things. Okay? We have to understand these things um, in terms of what's happening to the earth. So, of course, the solution to these things is that we have to be more mindful. So we would like everyone to understand that agriculture is a way to solve these problems of the air quality, soil quality, okay, the water quality. You can do agriculture, and within 2 weeks, you'll see a change with the atmosphere. It goes 8 miles up to a 2 mile radius. You could put it tap water in a glass jug, put some agriculture ash, sit it in the sun, and it cleanses it within 2 to 3 days. You'll see more wildlife, insects, your pollinators, your bees come around when you're doing agriculture. So you can see this, and then as a result of this, you're finding more peacefulness to your mind, and so that way the mind pollution is lessened. The stress upon your nervous system lessens. The more you perform agnihotra. Okay, so this is the solution to these things. But I just wanted to talk about these things because right now we're talking about wars being fought between countries, but we're at war with the earth. We are at war with the earth. And the thing is that I know for a fact when humans war with the earth, humans will lose because the the earth, hey, that's the big dog right there, as the young people will say. You can't mess around with the earth. So if you want to have a war with the earth, the humans will lose. Okay? So we are having the inner war, now understanding who we are as divine beings, and we're warring with our earth, our planet. This planet is for everybody. So there are no differences between someone in Pakistan, America, Germany, Russia, China. We just have a different color, may have a different way of thinking, or whatever way someone wants to have a religion or not have a religion. Everybody has to have clean air, healthy food, and shelter. Okay? So that is something that is universal to all human beings, no matter whether you live in a big giant house or if you live in a little small hut, or if you live off the land like you're indigenous in the Amazon or in the forest, okay, in Madagascar, okay, in Africa. Everybody has to have this. Every animal has to have that. Every animal um, knows how to take care of its surroundings so it could have its young and so it can gather food. Okay, so we are having a war with the natural order. Okay, and we will lose the war. Okay, because we're like little specks of dust. You hear? We're little specks of dust, and we can be flicked off so that the planet can reset itself. So just remember that when you're looking at the inclement weather and the storm fronts and the tornadoes and hurricanes, that nature is infinite with wisdom, and it will reset itself. So I just wanted to remind everyone about this on Earth Day, because every day is Earth Day. We don't just remember it on the 22nd. We're celebrating it today because the 22nd falls in the middle of the week, and but every day is Earth Day. So I want you to think of yourself not as a consumer of things that the planet has to offer, but think about what you can give to the planet, and that extends to being mindful of how you wash your clothes, not using detergents made with plastics, or we don't have to buy all these things that we think we need. These things had to be made, whether they were shoes and purses and these things. Use only what you need. You have to remember that for thousands of years, so many cultures and groups and tribes across the world, this is how they lived. They only made what clothes they needed to wear. If they needed to go somewhere in a boat, they made the boat when it was time for them to go. They built a house, and then if it was destroyed or needed repair, they would repair it. This is a universal law. So when you don't practice these things that are universal to all human beings on the planet, then guess what? You have caused a war on the planet. So, and like I said before, I want people to remember that all these bombs and things going off between these countries, that most definitely it affects the planet, and the soil, and how you grow food, and the people that live there, and the water. So just understand that this is a closed loop. All of our all of us are affected by these things. And so going back to the data centers, if the air is messed up from these data centers, from the methane gas glitching up there, that affects the soil, because air doesn't just stay right here. That means the soil is affected. Okay. That means all the bodies of water there, they have to be fed into a larger body of water, because that's how water works. Okay, so there's no little thing that's separate over here when something gets tainted. And that goes back to the concept I've told you before, the scientific principle of man, microbes, flora, fauna. Man, microbes, flora, fauna. When one on that list gets affected, that means the whole list is affected. So on Earth Day, I want you to remember what I said about the EARTH, equality for all sentient beings, your action to take care of the planet, okay? Um, um, to be responsible for the water and the plant life and the air, and to be responsible for each other, okay? And to take the time to listen to what you know is right instinctively. And that goes back to the AI. AI stands for artificial intelligence, but let's talk about you. You're the original AI. Your activated intuition. That's what I say the AI stands for. You know what the instincts tell you, what's wrong or right. Be mindful of you being an overconsumer. You take only what you need in nature. So you're always giving back. If you look at nature, it's always giving. There's always a being born, and then there's a die off. Something blooms, then it goes to seed, then it dies back. So it's always a giving. You're not supposed to just take. That is against the natural order of everything that this universe is made on. And we are universal beings. We are universal divine beings. So that's the message I wanted to share. I forgot the H, and the H is humility. Humility. You humbly serve the planet, take care of the planet, and you serve your fellow brother or sister. That's the humility. This is the thing that we have been given as caretakers, to be able to be a noble steward of planet Earth. Because understand that what happens on this planet affects the universal order. Okay, all the rest of the planets, we can't pollute this planet. Okay, and we have to make sure that we take care of the planet and we take care of ourselves. So make sure on this Earth Day 2026 that we are walking in love and light, that we are helping someone. We're not judgmental. We're not greedy. We're forgiving of ourselves. We're forgiving of others. And that we understand that whatever struggles that we have, that we're not alone. And that's all I wanted to share with you on this Earth Day. And thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Okay? Be blessed. Om Shanti.